Rex, so to get us started here, when you and I were talking about foundations of software testing, you were telling me a little bit about what the book covers. The next slides, this one and the next one has the table of contents. And tell me a little bit more about the study tips that are in there, some of these sample exam questions, and when we get to the table of contents slide, kind of how the book is laid out.
Sure. So this book really serves two purposes. One is for the practitioner who wants to ensure that they have and are utilizing the fundamental best practices of testing. And so those are explained in a clear, logical fashion, which we can talk about on the next slide in terms of how the flow works. Now, because testing is a challenging activity and requires that you challenge yourself and you're thinking about it as you go along. So it does include exercises that allow you to practice some of these key ideas. Another main target audience for the book is the individual who wants not only to master these fundamental best practices for their day-to-day work, but also to take and successfully pass the ISTQB Foundation exam. And so the book provides sample exam questions similar to ones that one would find on an actual exam, addressing most of the learning objectives that are covered in the syllabus, so it's a comprehensive preparation for the exam. It includes one full-length mock exam that someone can use to practice, so they can basically take the exam on their own before they take it for real and know what they're in for and how prepared they are. And of course, the material is completely consistent with the ISTQB Foundation syllabus and the latest version of the glossary, which means that all of the information imparted to the reader is the latest and most accurate information needed on the exam.
Excellent. And in some emails going back and forth with a gentleman that was working with us, his name is Mark Fritz. I believe he's on the webinar today. He was asking a little bit about how the ISTQB certifications compare with, let's say, Six Sigma certifications or CSQE. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So if you look at something like Six Sigma, that's going to be very much focused on the Six Sigma techniques. And so I'd say that's a fairly narrow and focused certification. And obviously that would be true of many of the tool certifications as well. If you were to be certified on some Microsoft tool, then it'd be focused on using that particular tool to solve a particular problem. Now, CSQE, Certified Software Quality Engineer from the American Society for Quality, or ASQ, is similar to the ISTQB program in that it is more broad-ranging, in that it covers the entire software development lifecycle and process. The main difference, the key difference with the topic coverage is that the CSQE is focused on what's sometimes referred to as big Q quality. In other words, it's focused on the concept which was put forward by J.M. Duran and W.E. Demings and so forth that says that the quality of the deliverables produced by a process is to a large extent determined by the quality of the process. And so it is, the CSQE certification is very much focused on end-to-end process, software engineering, process engineering, if you will. So if you are part of a software engineering process group or SEPG at your company, or you're in charge of doing CMMI compliance or leading a CMMI program to do process improvement, then that CSQE is going to be a perfect fit. But if your day-to-day work primarily is focused on testing of software, evaluating its quality and reporting on that evaluation to people as projects proceed and as maintenance releases are created, then the ISTQB program is much more aligned with your day-to-day work, because that's really what we're focused on. We're focused on what does somebody who is a professional tester need to know. throughout the entire software lifecycle in order to be a better tester. Now, that obviously is in support of the goal of a quality deliverable, but it is more focused on the immediate task at hand. And many people have told me that the people that have both the CSQE and the ISTQB certifications have told me that the ISTQB program is much more practical in the sense that it addressed things that had to do with their day-to-day work.
Excellent. All right, very good. And the next slide here shows the layout of the book and the table of contents. I've seen this compared to the training, and like you said, it actually follows the foundation syllabus flow exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit more about how you coordinated those two together, how the book is formatted, and like the challenges that you're trying to address.
Sure. So we made a decision when we wrote this book, and also when we developed the corresponding live and e-learning course. And of course, you know that we offer the e-learning course in conjunction with CAI University. We made the decision that we would follow the syllabus directly. That it would make it easier for the second group of target readers that I discussed, the people who are looking to use the book and or the training as exam preparation, if we were to do that. So there was a direct one-to-one mapping between sections in the book and or training and the syllabus itself. In addition, because the flow of the book is one that makes sense on its own, and the flow of the syllabus, excuse me, is one that makes sense on its own, it's a perfectly reasonable way to organize the flow of the book. As you see here, section 1, we start with fundamental testing ideas. Why do we need to do testing? What activities are testing activities? What are some fundamental principles of testing? How does the test process work? What are psychological aspects of testing that come into play? Then the next section puts testing in the broader context of the software lifecycle, development models such as the traditional sequential models and the iterative or incremental models like RUP, Rational Unified Process, or Rapid Application Development are discussed, along with a discussion of Agile and how testing fits into an Agile methodology. We look at things like the levels of testing from unit tests through integration tests to system tests and acceptance tests, and then different types of testing. Excuse me. The types of testing would include things like not only functional testing, but performance testing and usability testing and reliability testing, important test types. And then there's some discussion about maintenance testing because a lot of software is maintained. Chapters 3 and 4 look at static testing and test design, which would comprise the bulk of a professional tester's day-to-day activities. So reviewing documents such as requirement specifications, test plans, test cases, and so forth. And then Chapter 4, designing tests using both black box and white box techniques. And those are covered in some detail, along with a description of how to choose the appropriate technique, because it's part of being, for example, a master carpenter is not just knowing how to use every tool in your toolbox, but also when to select which tool. So that's a key element of this, which is not only an exam issue, but it's also a day-to-day practice issue. Then there's a chapter on test management, things like test planning and configuration management and risk-based testing and managing bugs and so forth. And then finally, the syllabus